I still got vision.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the October. Whoa, hello. That's awfully loud. To the October 15th meeting of the Regional Transportation Commission. Thank you all for being here. The first order of business is we're going to call to order. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Certainly. Darren Tedford.
Here.
Bob Lucy is not here yet. Neoma Jordan.
Here.
Bill Thomas.
Here.
Vaughn Hartung.
Here.
Oscar Delgado. Here. And Adam Spear.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to move into the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would be honored if Ms. Jessica Schneider would lead us in the pledge. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, and thank you all again for being here. I do think we wanted to start with some opening statements this morning. There has been some things that have, I guess some things to announce here this morning, and I think it's important that we start our meeting out with this. And I apologize. Can you all hear me okay? It's hard to speak through these masks sometimes. So clearly all of you as passionate RTC drivers and riders, it's been a rough go. There's no question. It has been a rough go. I think as an RTC commissioner, and I think I can speak for the other commissioners, that being legally prohibited from participating is the most frustrating thing. We as politicians and elected servants are here to solve problems, and it's very difficult when you are prohibited from being involved. So that's a level of frustration that I think we all are feeling. But I did want to announce I'm encouraged and I'm very thankful that it's my understanding that on Monday that negotiations will resume. I'm hopeful for that. I'm thankful for Gary Watson and his leadership coming to help hopefully resolve some issues, and thankful for Mr. Mike Ake from Keolis for the same. And again, I'm excited and encouraged that Monday, I understand that negotiations will resume. So I just wanted to put that out here. And Director Thomas, I believe you had something to say.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to let everybody know, and we'll formally announce when we get to the item, but we have a process where several times a year on regular schedule, basically a routine or process we make our service changes. In this case, we were preparing for some potential service changes in January that were based on things that we forecasted that may or may not happen. And it was my decision, working with the team, to decide that we're not bringing any formal route service changes to the board at this time. And in saying that, what it means is that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world today and in our particular environment, and we need a little more understanding of what we're dealing with before we come and ask you for any formal service changes. So we've pulled off item 5.1, which was the service changes that we had announced earlier. So just want everybody to know those are not on the board for action today. Certainly people will be and are probably encouraged, speaking on your behalf and the boards, to make their comments today, but just everybody should know those are not going forward.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Delgado.
Madam Chair, thank you. And I'll be brief. My hope is that as part of the changes in terms of 1 to 5.1 and the comments, Madam Chair, that you have stated, it's important to know that understanding that there's a huge shortage in our community across the region with respect to drivers, but and that there's bonuses, incentives, and everything else to try and bring in qualified drivers, but it's so important and vital that we take care of our current drivers. And so my hope is that that's also part of the conversations and speaking with the chairwoman and others on the board, that we look at essential pay, we look at opportunities for bonuses, and we look at making sure we support those that have stuck with us throughout all these years and all this time to make sure they understand that we respectfully appreciate all the work that they've done and all the work that they do for our community. So please take that into consideration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, if nothing else, at this time, we will move into public comment. Madam Clerk, I have a number of public comments here, but I also wanted to read a proclamation from Dora Martinez. I don't know if we wanted to do that after public comment or now.
I think we should do it now.
Okay. Hang on one second. I need to pull it up on my phone and make sure I can see it. Okay, thank you very much. A proclamation on Blind Americans Equality Day 2021. 31 years ago, our nation moved closer to fulfilling its foundational promise of equal dignity and opportunity for all with the enactment of the landmark Americans with Disabilities Act. This bipartisan legislation, which I proudly co-sponsored as a member of the United States Senate, has made a profound difference in the lives of blind Americans, paving the way for greater opportunity, self-sufficiency, independent living, and equitable participation in all aspects of life. On Blind Americans Equality Day, we recognize the rights, talents, and contributions of blind and visually impaired Americans who represent every segment of our diverse population. My administration is committed, this is from President Biden, my administration is committed to building on the foundation of the Americans with Disabilities Act by ensuring that blind and visually impaired Americans have equitable opportunities for employment and career advancement. That is why I signed the executive orders to advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility with the federal workers and to raise the minimum wage of federal contractors to $15 an hour. Orders which will directly impact our many federal contractors who are blind and visually impaired. These actions will further enable federal workers with disabilities to access reasonable accommodations and gain greater economic self-sufficiency while spurring the federal government to be a model employer in providing equitable, accessible, and inclusive work environments for employees with disabilities. Building an accessible, equitable nation for all Americans is a key part of building back better, and for many families, fulfilling that commitment begins in America's classrooms. This is about who we are as Americans, and these actions are helping us move our country closer to the fulfillment of our highest ideals of equity and opportunity for all. On Blind Americans Equality Day, we recommit to ensuring freedom, equality, and opportunity for all blind and visually impaired Americans. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the United States laws of the United States, are hereby proclaim October 15th, 2021 as Blind Americans Equality Day. I call upon all government officials, educators, volunteers, and all the people of the United States to mark this day with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Signed, Joseph R. Biden Jr. Thank you. Okay. So now, Madam Clerk, thank you, Dora, for bringing that in. We will move on to public comment. The first public commenter I have Russell Radford?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we were going to take Dora Martinez.
Oh, I thought she just wanted me to, oh, absolutely.
she
Come
wants
on
to
up,
speak
Dora.
also.
I thought she just wanted me to read the proclamation. My apologies.
Diana will go first.
All right, come on up.
Under my name. Where do we go? Oh, right in front of me.
Go to your left
My left, your right. No, I'm just kidding.
and forward. There you go.
I have to touch the mic.
Yeah, can you have your hand?
Hi, this is Diana Martz. I want to complain about access taking too long to get me to the doctors and stuff.
Thank you.
Can you have her sit down, babe?
Huh?
Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know, I lost my cane.
Her cane.
Good morning. My name is Juan Martinez. I have low vision. And before I start, I want to make sure that all the commissioners are paying attention and not on your cell phones Last time we were speaking, a sighted person told my wife and I that some of you guys were on your phones while we're up here speaking. So please don't do that. I want to start by talking about the RT access drivers. Some of them don't get off the bus to escort to our destination where we need to get off at. They just sit there. And as we're coming down the bus, they also touch my wife's dog as they're coming down the stairs. And that's a big lawsuit if they're distracting the dog and my wife can fall down the stairs. It also happened to me once as I'm coming down the stairs, a driver pulled my cane as I'm walking down. I use my cane to guide myself. I could also fall by them doing that. And also too, some of the drivers, they don't wear their vests and it's hard to tell if they're our drivers or not. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, to all the council. Just for my perception, and would it be okay if you guys tell me from left to right who's here so I can know the voice to the name?
From your left to your right.
Yes.
Okay, from your left to right. Go ahead.
My name is Darren Tedford. I'm the Deputy Director with the Nevada DOT.
Thank you.
Neoma Jordan, Chair, Regional Transportation Commission.
Bill Thomas, Executive Director of RTC.
Vaughn Hartung, member of RTC Board.
Oscar Delgado, Reno City Council, RTC Commissioner.
And that's it?
We have legal counsel as well.
Okay, no, I just wanted to, thank you so much. So again, good morning, Dora Martinez, representing Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition. Thank you, Madam Neoma Chardon, for reading that. I absolutely appreciate it, and I appreciate you. We are here today, and I just got told by Susie Trinidad that you guys pulled down I think it was item 5 or something like that for the reduction of the bus route in January, which is really awesome and help us to be out there. This is a right to work state, and we have every right to go to work, go to school, and like my friend Diana said, sometimes she gets late for her appointment. And you know, when I come here to speak and advocate and be activist for our rights as disabled people, as an introvert, it's quite hard for me to do that, but I know that somebody got to do it. We got to stand up for our civil right and our right to be out there and go to our appointment and not miss work or lose our jobs because of unreliable public transit. So we urge you guys to please, I know RTC are getting their deal, but our access drivers, we've been told that they're getting $9 an hour, 9 something an hour, and they do a lot. They tie down wheelchair, they guide us, some of them, the good ones, guide us to the door. Some of the, they tell us that there's obstacles so we don't fall. And getting that job at $9 or $10 an hour is insulting to them. My son, who's 17, gets $14 an hour at Walgreens. So please, we want to keep our drivers. We want to have good drivers and more drivers. So it would be better if they start out at, I don't know, $15 or $20 an hour, living wage. And sometimes we're late for our trips because we've been told by the staff of RTC Access that you guys moved the drivers to flex, leaving us people with disabilities stuck there waiting for our bus. And that's not right. We schedule our trip 3 days in advance, and we're always late. My friend couldn't be here to read the proclamation because her bus couldn't get her on time. So with that, I'll yield my time because I know I'm overdoing it. But thank you so much, Neoma Chardon. We appreciate you.
You're very welcome. And Madam Clerk, if there's any additional forms that need to be filled out, because there was 3 speakers and each was getting 3 minutes. So I don't think we went over, I think just the timing of it because there was a transition. So thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Martinez. Thank you very much for being here today. Okay, Madam Clerk, at this time, we will move into the rest of the general public comment. And please forgive me, I'm having, is it Russell Radford?
It is, madam.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Council, staff, honored guests. My name is Russell Radford. I'm a Reno resident. I am not a affected party, directly affected by anything that your board will do today. I'm here to speak because I have a recollection of a long history of the Regional Transportation Commission, the funding votes that the public has made to support your commission, to support the staff, to support the drivers that work in our community. I have read recent reports and have had confirmation of actions taken by your vendor that are, I'll just say, disingenuous, to be generous to them. The fact that we are negotiating on television and lying to the public is of deep concern to me right now. The members of the Teamsters 533 local have worked through the most dangerous time that they will probably ever work in their lives for our community. The vendor is treating them as if they should be treated like children and cheated and lied to. The only offer that they have genuinely made has been an insult to both the community and to the Teamsters local. The claims that they've made in the public media have been false and have made statements that, frankly, they don't live up to and haven't presented at the bargaining table. Now, the fact that they're willing to, or claimed to be willing to, continue the existing contract under the auspices of releasing all of their claims with the National Labor Relations Board, the violations of the contract that exist now, is of severe concern to me. And I hope that this commission, who is legally barred from participating in the negotiations, will exert their considerable leverage against the vendor regarding negotiating in good faith and treating their employees with respect. We pledged allegiance to a flag this morning that guaranteed liberty and justice for all. I don't believe that's what's happening here today, and it's been happening in these negotiations. Thank you.
Okay, the next public commenter, Michael Humes. Good morning.
Good morning. As a taxpayer in Washoe County, I'm concerned that the RTC has hired a contractor who is not fulfilling their contractual obligations. If the RTC started assessing liquidated damages against Keolis, it would put pressure on them to negotiate in good faith with the Teamsters Local 533. By not doing this, the RTC is allowing them to make a large profit while the citizens of Washoe County suffer because the buses run at a very limited capacity. Prior to the labor stoppage, Keolis was cutting service and parking buses daily. This community would be better off without Keolis. We need a management company that cares about the citizens of this community, not the low bidder that is only interested in profits. RTC, fire Keolis.
Thank you very much. No, there's no applauding, nothing from the gallery, please. At this time, we'll move into John Gerhauser, uncle to Jessica Schneider. Come on up. Good morning. Good morning.
Sorry, I got to pull it up on my phone here. Okay. Good morning, members, Madam Chairperson. My name is John Gerhauser, and I'm an essential transit driver and frontline worker for RTC bus system. And now, just because I'm a Teamster, Keolis wants to portray me as a thug or some spoiled brat that wants his way. I'm a lifelong Nevadan who gratefully serves his community. Yes, I want to make a living and need to.
my needs are just as important as any others. But because a foreign corporation comes into our city and tells you we're going to take away everything you have built in a 40-year-old collective bargaining agreement, doesn't mean that that should happen. Our top pay is far below the national average. Our pension is 1/6 that of some package delivery drivers in our same union. So we're not asking for the world, just to keep what we have earned. Just to keep, okay, sorry.
You're doing great.
From day one, in my opinion, this company has treated its employees poorly by bullying, threats, mismanagement, and at times, complete chaos. And the result has been dozens and dozens of drivers have retired early or just outright quit because they simply couldn't work for these people. As long as this company has your contract, I believe nothing will change. I've seen this spiral down for over 2 years now. It's unacceptable. And I believe the biggest reason there is a shortage of operators in our area is Keolis, period. I ask that this body rethink its relationship with your union buster and put a brighter light on the future of transit system in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next public commenter is Earl Brynelson. Good morning.
My name is Earl Brynelson. I'm a member of the Teamsters Local 533. I am an essential worker. It must be truly embarrassing for all of you to have a contractor who has no regard for state or federal regulations. Our community, my fellow union brothers and sisters, are suffering. Keolis is a failure. They are dragging their feet at the bargaining table with ridiculous offers, such as a cut to NRS 608.0198 from 160 hours or 20 days to 24 hours or 3 days. For those of you who do not know what that is, it is guaranteed leave time for domestic violence victims. For being a parent of a victim, this hits very personal to me. They also want to change the language for active duty military person. Now they tell the media that they're pulling this from the table. But what this does is it drags on our negotiating time. They put stuff into the language across the table that is by federal and state regulations mandatory in a contract, and they just drag on and on and on when they know it has to be there. It's ridiculous bargaining tactics. Keolis wants to do away with current scheduling process, but refuses to show us a full example of that. It's another bargaining, dragging tactic. And what this does is it hurts our people, it hurts our community, it hurts the disabled people who use our system, it hurts the homeless people that use our system. Even certain managers in the Reno workforce that have been with the company for years have even said to me personally that their scheduling process is not going to work. Okay, replace Keolis or step down. This is your mess. It's time you did something. Good day.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, the next one I had was Dora Martinez, but I think she already spoke, and I think she left. She did.
You're correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. At this time, Tim Hannafin. Good morning.
Good morning. First, I would like to thank the committee for taking public comment and then allowing for me to speak today. My name is Tim Hannafin, and I'm a fifth-generation Nevadan and a local community member. Nothing that you do will affect me in any way, shape, or form, but I needed to speak. This weekend, I was attending the Italian festival downtown to gather a better understanding of the community and how it stands. But one of the more memorable and biggest lessons I learned wasn't from the sauce tasting or speaking with the public, but was an encounter I happened upon off the main path while walking to my family's old bar. On 4th Street, while I was pointing out the old building, I saw a group of individuals holding picket signs. By happenstance, I'd come upon the picket line of our local bus workers and the local Teamsters 553 union. Taking a moment to pause and introduce myself, they started to explain the conditions and frustrations that they've been dealing with. They explained to me the hardships that they were facing around, rest breaks, working hours, just general cleaning conditions, scheduling conditions, just all of their frustrations, and they eagerly poured these out to me. And however horrifying they sounded, just knowing that these were the conditions our workers were working in, what stuck out to me the most was when they said that no one was listening to them. I asked how I or anyone else could even help, and they eagerly gave me email addresses and phone numbers for numbers they knew wouldn't work because the people on the other end weren't working for them or at this point even taking their calls. That's why I'm here today, to add my voice to the voices of calling. If not for a change, at least for a chance to be heard. We so often seek out what is great in our community while taking for granted or even outright ignoring that which makes the community great in the first place. It is the importance of public transportation cannot be overstated, yet is often overlooked. I think it is time we paid more attention to the people who make our lives and livelihoods possible and examine why we are putting them in a situation which costs them their own. I do not have an answer for this problem, but what I do believe is that without giving a fair hearing to these voices, without answering their calls, without answering their emails, without even going to the table in good faith and understanding each other's positions or understanding what's going on, we're doing a disservice to all of those involved serving us. I deeply respect the resolve of Teamsters 553 members for standing what is truly right and holding the line, and I implore the board to act on these concerns that have been raised. Do something. Continue to work to address the situation. It's great to hear that they're going back to the table on Monday, but you as a board, you have the contract. Please do some leaning, do some pressing. As a community member, it's very disheartening. I want more to be done, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Chastity Lockridge, followed by Jessica Schneider.
Good
morning.
morning, Madam Chair and board members. My name is Chastity Lockridge. I have worked for RTC contractors for almost 9 years now. So here we are again, day 19 of the strike. Eventually this will end. Has anyone truly given any thought to what's next? Are you aware of what happens when we go back? The further tarnishment Keolis will give our Reno and RTC's reputation. We're supposed to have about 178 drivers on the roster. When the strike started, we were down to 112. More have left since. I'm pretty sure we're standing under 100 drivers now. There is no way we will be able to run an effective service. We had buses parked. We had buses parked and runs canceled before the strike. Now with more bid drivers gone, more buses will be parked. Hours of gaps in service. The public will continue to see that even though the strike ended, they are not Keolis's priority. And therefore, the public will believe the lack of drivers and scheduling is reflective of ineffective leadership and planning. I said before, some of our passengers are aware of Keolis is contracted for RTC, but the majority see RTC's name on the side of that bus. Furthermore, a reduced service and less drivers means less frequent and more packed buses. And here we are again, more exposure to COVID, less protection for the drivers, more stress for the passengers who take it out on the drivers, drivers who distrust management, management who targets employees, and it goes on. I have planned to finish my career here. I have 9 years invested in my retirement. I am a safe driver. The dependable safe drivers that are left are dwindling. I'm scared to see what the bus system is becoming in Reno. And before the excuse of COVID is made, we all saw the storm clouds rolling in from the first day on with onboarding when Keolis took over from MB before July 1st. Please address and demand a plan of action from Phil Pumphrey on what plan he plans on doing to bring qualified drivers in, protect current drivers' health, and restore Reno's bus system's reputation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jessica Snyder, followed by John Locke. Good morning.
Good morning. I could only come up here and tell you my experience. My experience is always, always for the working class. I've listened to my uncle. They're not asking for the world. They're not asking for a free trip to Disneyland. It seems very reasonable. And I'm always believing the reason why I became an entrepreneur is problem solving. So let's get in a room. You guys, this is crazy. It's embarrassing that Reno doesn't have our buses running. I have a sweet old lady that visits Junkie Clothing Exchange every Tuesday, brings me clothes. It's a highlight of her week, and she can't come because she rides the bus. There's millions of stories like that you can only imagine. If you have 3 kids and you're a cocktail waitress at the Atlantis and you can't get to work. Not only are we all short-staffed, you can't even get a car these days. I have a friend that's waiting on a car. So this is a really, really embarrassing for Reno. And if we're really in this country not helping the working class, as that's where our country is going, Reno is really hurting the working class right now. Most people can't right now even get a car, afford a car, and we all got to get back to work. So I'm up here. I don't really know all of their story. I don't know their story. I'm here for the elderly woman that wants to come to Junkie and have for the highlight of her whole week and get on the bus. And I fought for that street for 3 years. It was all about the buses, all about the buses. Anything that I would want to talk about, it was about buses, buses, buses. And now Reno, for this long, do whatever you guys got to do. You're capable, Bill. You guys know me. Get in a room and make this happen. That's why I'm here. And I'm speaking for the working class of Reno. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jessica. John Locke, followed by Ronald Dalton. Madam Clerk, please have the record reflect that Commissioner Lucy is present.
Good morning. My name is John Locke. I'm a Teamster with 533. I'm also a bus driver. We would really love to get back to our jobs, driving good old Americans to their jobs, to their doctor's appointments, to the stores. I had a conversation with Mr. Ake via email, and he couldn't answer why he lied on television to Reno, Nevada, saying that they offered to extend the contract for 2 years. That was never even brought up on the table. What was brought up on the table was a disgusting, disgraceful piece of garbage. They want to cut domestic violence down to 24 hours. Who can move? Who can make a doctor's appointment? That's 3 days, a year. Not a month, not every 6 months, a year. And to take away active military? I'm not in France. I was born here in America, right at Washoe Med. I'm proud to be a Nevadan. I'm disgusted to be in Reno. This board needs to do something now to send these people back to where they came from, back to France. I believe in the American flag. I believe in the American people, not France. They are useless people. Thank you.
Ronald Dalton, followed by Serafin Castillo.
Good morning. I'm here to represent the VA administrations on this strike today. I'm here with another representative from the VA department today. I would like to talk today about the canal. They're from another country, and I'd like to know what they're doing in our country handling our affairs. I think there should be an investigation on this, and they should do something about it. The second thing is the safety with people. I've been a minister in this town for 15 years, an ordained minister, and I'm been counseling a lot of people right now because of this strike. And I've been with all these bus drivers from day one. These guys are all first responders here, and they've done a great job to this whole economy. And this economy needs to it cannot grow and keep growing and move on until we get this strike over. People can't get to work. They're having a hard time getting to work. People are losing their jobs. My wife lost her job she had for 10 years at Bank of America, and then she got a new job and she couldn't get to work, so she couldn't get the job. We need to get this strike over. We need to move on in a peaceful way and resolve this in a peaceful way. I've got all the churches praying about this. And we need to resolve this as soon as possible. This is causing people to lose their homes, their jobs, mental illness. And what else do I want to say here? The county is suffering. We're trying to recover from this pandemic. We're not going to recover here in Reno and Washington County if the bus remains on strike much longer here. This is absolutely affecting our economy here. We need to do something, and we need to do it right away. And it's causing unimaginable effects on people. I've been ministering a lot of people up at the VA lately. We already have a high rate of suicide veterans right now, and this is really adding to like 10 or 15% more now because of this crisis. Veterans are just wanting to give up. I'm trying to minister to them and tell them, hey man, don't give up yet. This is gonna get better, and it's gonna get better. I just believe that this is gonna be resolved and we can all get back on to living again. And Canal needs to be held responsible for this, and whoever else is responsible for this crisis right now. We need to get this over with. It's been a real hardship for me. I've had to walk a little bit, but I've lost a couple pounds. Okay, that's all I got to say today. God bless everybody here today.
Thank you very much. Serafin Castillo, followed by Blanca Tejeda. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and the rest of the committee. Forgive me, I'll have to slow my speech down after my stroke. I'm a I just recently moved to Reno, Nevada, now living with my son after my retirement. And I have to really say that I'm really impressed with the bus system here. After my retirement, I traveled to the East Coast, Hawaii, where in Hawaii there's no bus system but shuttles, you all know that, or rent a car. And I'm really impressed with the bus system here in Reno, Nevada, really impressed. And I believe that's the reason, because of your leadership. I believe that's why I'm so impressed with your leadership, Chair, and the rest of your team. Really impressed. And I even brag to my brother who lives in California and my son who lives in Georgia. And please do not let this strike continue to a deterioration where it's going to be, where the bus drivers will suffer and the bus passengers will suffer. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your service.
It was an honor to serve my country. Thank you for your support.
Absolutely. Blanca Tejeda, followed by Amanda Nelson. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Good morning.
So this is Blanca. She does not speak English, so I'm going to read her letter. My name is Blanca Tejeda. For more than 20 years, I've been riding the RTC bus. It's affecting us a lot for work, school, and errands. Lots of people are losing their job because of the lack of transportation. I've been paying for my daughter $20 a day for her to go to and from work since the strike began. And I've been walking to and from work in the cold when it's dark and dangerous outside. I want you guys to help our bus drivers and support them. They're bus drivers I've known for a long time, and I don't want them to lose their jobs because they're doing their job very well. The bus drivers already go through enough dealing with rude passengers on the daily. They don't need to also be mistreated by their own management. I started riding when the bus station was small, and now it's a lot bigger. It's an improvement for Northern Nevada because it's growing, and meanwhile, Keolis wants to reduce routes. They're hardworking, and they have needs to go to work too. I want you guys to support them. They're fighting for their job, and I wouldn't want to see them unemployed. Please support them and don't leave them alone. Their presence is needed to keep Reno Sparks running. Passengers need them to go to the grocery store, doctor's appointments, work, and school. And thank you for listening to me today.
Thank you. Señor Delgado, espero que nos escuche porque muchos niños agarran el bus y están suspendiendo sus clases, los enfermos, sus appointments. Espero que los escuche a ellos. Son unos buenos choferes que tratan bien al bienestar de Nevada. Gracias.
Thank you very much, and thank you for reading that on her behalf. Thank you.
And I'm Amanda Nelson.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Amanda.
Okay. Hello, my name is Amanda Nelson. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm a driver for Keolis. On my way driving into this meeting today, I started looking at the hiring signs around. Today I noticed 7 warehouse jobs that have pay starting higher than Keolis, 4 of which mentioned on the sign a sign-on bonus. How can Keolis continue to treat these drivers so badly? The country is currently experiencing a driver shortage, and Reno is no different. Nobody in their right mind would agree to be treated like a robot or worked half to death for less than a box jockey. The new drivers come, they get subpar training, get their license, and realize what it's like to work here, and they're gone. Where do they go? Anywhere but here. Senior drivers are getting warehouse jobs. Why? Not because of the strike, but because after 10 to 20 years on the job here, they get treated better for the same or better money. Madam Chair, RTC board members, it's time to step in and do something. You're losing drivers left and right, good drivers, professional drivers. The drivers they have out right now are trainees. They're not licensed to drive passengers yet, but they're using the vans. They're putting your passengers on the floors of the vans. They are letting them out into traffic because that's the way the vans are designed. The only door opens on the traffic side, and flipping us off with your passengers in the vehicles. How much worse can you let this get? It's time to fix this.
Thank you very much. Debbie Calkins, followed by Dave Martin.
Good morning, everybody. Deb Calkins with the Teamster Union. I'm the Secretary Treasurer and Principal Officer. When RTC is accepting bids for specified work, do you accept proposals from companies that submit them only to the media? And do you guys? When you receive properly submitted proposals, and there are also special conditions or strings attached, do you reserve the right to evaluate those criteria and then reject offers that are not in the public's best interest? I bet you do. We find it remarkable that a corporation of the magnitude of Keolis behaves this way. And some of you display support for them and not for your RTC transit workers. Keolis may continue their propaganda stunts with proposals submitted to the media and contract raises by internal memos. But our workers, our passengers, and our community see right through their divisive and disingenuous approach. Only when Keolis brings a genuine offer to the mutually agreed upon formal negotiations arena will it be evaluated and presented to our transit workers for ratification. No amount of money will prompt us to turn a blind eye to the contractual violations, the workplace hostility, the inept management that our members have endured without resolution. We will not attract, train, and retrain new commercial drivers, mechanics, and dispatchers in that kind of environment. Our community workers are essential. They were praised by you in May when I was here at the monthly meeting for their heroic efforts. It's time we started treating them that way. Our members deserve better, our passengers deserve better, and our community deserves better. And for that matter, we believe the RTC deserves better. They deserve to have a contractor that cares about our community. I'm asking you for your support to make our public transit system better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dave Martin, followed by Chris Fuqua. Gosh, I probably totally messed that up. Fuqua?
Good morning, my name is Dave Martin. I'm a driver for Keolis, a member of Teamster Local 533. I just want to say that I've only been driving for 15 months, but I want to speak to the professionalism of the drivers that I'm proud to work with. To a person, they all care about the community they serve, and I just call on RTC to put pressure on Keolis to get this strike finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chris Fuqua? I'm sorry, please correct me when you come down, because I'm...
There's only a few of me, and it's a
Fuqua. With a name like Neoma, I respect that very much. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Good morning, members. My name is Chris Fuqua. I'm the Vice President of Local Teamsters 533. I just want to let you guys know that what's been going on with Keolis and the Teamsters, it should not be happening. First of all, I do want to address what's been going on with the ADA situation, to where we have passengers that are the most vulnerable members of our society here in our community, and they should not be late to their trips. The contract that we have with the ADA services is completely separate from the Keolis contract. And when these members of our community are being late, it's because of the directive of the RTC board telling that contractor, which is a separate contractor from Keolis, to not focus on their prime responsibility, but to pick up other members, trying to pick up the general community and back up the Keolis board and make sure they're not late on their runs, which is making these our most vulnerable passengers, our veterans, being late to our meetings. And it was said that these operators of the other bus system, which falls under a different contract, they are getting paid subpar wages, and that is true. If I look at the contract, the operators' training rate is $9.50. After 6 months, it's $13. This needs to improve. And as a member and a Teamster, with our fellow operators that drive the buses, we empathize with the community. We understand what they're going through. It's our members that see these people day in, day out, that come to the strike lines and they talk to our members, and we empathize with them. We want to get this strike over with. And from my understanding, Monday's negotiations is going to be virtue. And if that's the case, this is the first virtual negotiations that we have. And I encourage Mike Ake to be on that negotiations. So that way he can hold his members on that negotiation committee accountable for what they're doing. Because I think if we can get them together, we can get this done. And the bad thing about this is they need to come in good faith. Our members are not asking for a lot. They're asking to keep what they've earned, what they already have. And we implore Keolis not to take away what we have, and we want them to come in good faith, and we want them to honor what we have and to try and get this done. When it comes to the bidding, we're not asking for a lot. We just want to have a good and fair contract. Is that really too much to ask for? I don't think so. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much. Michael Lansborough, followed by Carlos Elizondo. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, sitting board. I'm Michael Lansborough. I've been a coach operator for RTC Ride since 2014. Since July 1st of 2019, I have seen a complete degradation of the service of our work environment. Management comes in, you never know who they are, they never introduce themselves, they have a complete separation from employees and management. When the first day they came in, they removed any kind of comforts that we had, TVs, social areas, stuff like that. Anyways, I forgot what I was gonna say, other than the fact that it has been completely unacceptable the way they have treated us over these last 2.5 years with, I don't know, I'm more emotional about this than anything. But there is one thing that has to be brought to light, that Keolis was started from a rail system in France, the SNCF, that transported 77,000 victims to the concentration camps during the Holocaust, and that should be brought to light. And that's exactly the kind of people that we're still dealing with, ones that don't care about individuals nor the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carlos Elizondo, followed by Athena Duffy.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Elizondo. And I need to bring up to you, to the board meeting, regardless of what's between Keolis and Teamster, you know, you are the branch, you are the main branch. And you should, you know, try to fix what's going on. And money is the enemy, you know. And when we die, we're not taking nothing except our clothes, you know. And you should hire an American company that knows the American way. Because this is the first time in the history, you know, that you have so many problems, you know, the drivers going on strike. So you should hire an American company that understand the American way. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is about the information booth on both First Street Station. They open the lines right at 8 o'clock sharp, but they don't start answering the phone until about 8:30. So they don't have a very sharp morning, you know, so they should get that early, get things ready by 8 o'clock so they can start answering the phone. Yeah, they don't have a very sharp morning. They don't answer the phone about around 8:30. Yeah, let's see if I can think of something else I was gonna say. Yeah. So hopefully, you know, you fix what's going on, your strike, you know what's going on, because, you know, you are hurting the whole community, you know, a lot of people suffering, you losing their jobs, and You know, I'm lucky that I retired. I'm working right now. Okay, so that was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Athena Duffy. And then I don't have any additional public comment cards at this time, so if anybody wishes to speak after Athena, please see the clerk and fill out a form. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is
morning.
Athena Duffy. I am a driver for Keolis. I've been a driver for 3 years now, and the few years that Keolis has been here, it's not been well. I came here today to plead with you guys to just please help us get this fixed, because it's stressful for us. It's stressful for our poor passengers. You know, it's inconvenient, and I'm over it. Like, I just want to get back to my job. I want to get back to serving my community and, you know, seeing my regulars on a daily basis. And I'm just pleading with you guys, just please help us get this taken care of. Care for us. Care enough to take a look at what's really going on and the real big issue, and come together with us so we can fix it and we can get back to doing our jobs and get off this line, because we're tired. We're all tired. It's financially draining. Mentally, it's draining, and we need to get it done together. And that's how it's going to get fixed, is together. So please help us. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. No truer words spoken. Okay, anybody else wish to speak at this time? Sir, in the back, if you want to come on down, and then you can fill the form out afterwards.
Can we get somebody to move the microphone down?
Can somebody move the microphone down for this gentleman so he doesn't have to?
I think I can get it.
You think you can? Okay.
Close enough.
Yeah, you can. It can actually be moved. The whole thing can be moved down to where, that way you're not having to strain.
I can speak loud enough. My name is Dwight Nelson. I'm a passenger here in Reno. I retired here, and I've been using the buses for about 20 years. I did work at the pepper mill, and I'm retired now. I am a Teamster. I'm a retired Teamster for Local 19, which is the hotel, motel, restaurant there in San Jose. We used to go through this stuff at IBM all the time. We would strike, IBMers couldn't get to work, and it was a big problem all the time on Cottle, especially when we had the farm workers, Teamsters, would throw tomatoes at the buses back in the early 80s and 90s. So it's been a problem, but I cannot believe with a city of Reno and Sparks as big as they are, that they would take it out on the passengers to get, you know, I used the bus for years to get to the pepper mill, and it's just a mess right now. And, you know, bargaining should be able to be on both sides, and they should come to, I've never heard of a company from France be in charge of a union. You know, we were lucky there in Local 19, back in the early 80s, our person who ran off with the money and sold our building. And we were able to with the Teamster regroup, and a minister runs our chapter there in San Jose, which is very grateful. But I hope everybody can get along, and, you know, if RTC's making more than our own mayor, there's a problem. You know, 5% raise, and I think they were saying he was making $200,000 a year. That's a lot of money to do what? You know, things need to change. And if you have a job, you know, these guys are not asking, you know, back in the 80s with the bus drivers there in San Jose, they were starting to have to pay them $25 an hour because of the cost of living there. Reno's not that bad, but it's getting that bad because Google, Tesla, and all those guys are moving here, and they're paying their people $25 an hour or $16 or $17 an hour to start, with the sign-on bonus and all that stuff. You know, working for a trucking company when I was younger in my 20s, I know a little bit about the trucking business. I know that when I worked for Local 19, that's all I did was drive all the time. There's no reason why both parties can get along and pay a decent wage for these people to work. I've never heard of a company out of France running some company here in the United States. I guess things have changed. Thank you very much. My name is Dwight Nelson. I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming down to speak. And Madam Clerk, can you be sure to get him a form that we can get it for the record? Thank you. Okay, seeing no further public comment, we will move on. I'm not seeing any more to item 3. At this time, we're moving into the approval of the agenda, and Director Thomas, I believe we do have an item to pull.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have requested that item 5.1 be removed from the agenda today. Otherwise, everything else is still good.
Okay, with item 5.1 being removed from this agenda, may I get a motion for the remaining items?
Motion for the approval of the agenda, Madam Chair.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We're now moving on to Madam Clerk.
Item 4, consent.
I was looking for my glasses and they were on my head. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we're moving on to item 4. We're on to the consent items. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not.
Thank you very much. Do any members wish to pull any items for discussion?
No, Madam Chair.
Seeing none, may I get a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nope.
Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Item 5, public hearing items. Item 5.1 has been pulled. So we don't have anything else under 5. We are on to item 6, Executive Director Report. Director Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple items this morning on my report, so I'll get right into them. I'd like to congratulate first 3 employees that are very important to the successful operations of RTC, as are all of our employees, but these 3, all of which are in our engineering department, are very valuable to us, and I'd like to recognize Maria Paz Fernandez, who's an engineer too with us for 5 years as of November 14th. Also Jeffrey Wilbrecht, who's also an engineer too, will be with us 5 years as of November 14th. And then Andrew Janakara, engineer 2, will be with us 5 years. So we had a really good, 5 years ago, somebody made a really smart decision, because those are 3 really good, important employees in our organization. So I wanted to just acknowledge them and thank them for all they've done. Another exciting announcement this morning is we have a new employee recently that we've added to our finance department, Andy Chow, who's a senior accountant in the finance department. Andy, if you wouldn't mind standing so the board gets to know you. He started with us actually this month, so we're glad to have Andy on board, looking forward to what he can add to our organization, and I just wanted to let the board know that he's now a member of RTC. RTC has filed a motion to intervene in the Nevada PUC proceedings related to the Economic Recovery Transportation Electrification Plan. The proceeding is related to Senate Bill 448 from the 2021 legislative session. We are now preparing testimony supporting the goals of the plan and describing potential RTC uses of grant money that's associated with Senate Bill 448 and this filing, PUC filing. The plan proposes to allocate $6 million for transit electrification statewide. Future progress on this effort will be presented and provided to each of you as this moves forward. Just a reminder, daylight saving time ends on Sunday, November 7th. It'll be dark earlier, and statistics show that 80% of pedestrian fatalities occur between dusk and dawn. As part of the goals and mission of Vision Zero, Truckee Meadows Task Force is to keep our community safe. Vision Zero will again join the statewide #DuskToDawnNV campaign to remind communities to take extra caution to help bring down the number of pedestrian fatalities in our region to 0. A video highlighting pedestrian safety tips is available for viewing at visionzerotruckeemeadows.com. This video is also being promoted through RTC social media platforms and by many of our regional partners. A special reminder to everyone participating in traditional trick-or-treating this Halloween to be extra cautious on local streets and watch out for kids and the parents who often are with them and drive safely. On Friday, November 5th, we will have a Stuff a Bus for Children in Care, which will be held in partnership with Washoe County Human Services Agency and Target to support foster and adopted children. The Stuff a Bus for Children will be located at the Target store in Sparks at 1550 East Lincoln Way from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. HSA, the county agency that we're working with, is requesting donations of brand new warm weather items such as jackets, coats, gloves, socks, blankets, hooded sweatshirts and sweatpants, boots, and gift cards. The donations will be distributed through the Family Engagement Center in Sparks, which is the main site for ongoing support to families throughout the winter months. And then the last announcement I have is that on December 17th, our board meeting will be have a limited number of action items, and we'll focus on providing you with a retreat to talk about more broadly the operations of RTC as they are currently operating, and then any future goals and efforts that we want to make. So that concludes my presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from members? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to item 6.2, which is the federal report. Any updates?
Just very briefly, Madam Chair, on October 1st, the 30-day extension of the Surface Transportation authorization, and more commonly known as the FAST Act, was approved. The act has frequently, or this other transportation acts have been extended similarly, just so people understand that this is kind of a common practice, unfortunately, right now. But nothing has changed in terms of our operations, at least for that 30-day period. Anybody who's watching the activity at the federal level knows there's a lot of things in play. And once we have details about what's happening with the infrastructure bill as it relates to expenditures for transportation, both transit and for roadways, we will share that with you. But right now, I'm sure everybody knows there's a lot of conversation going on at the federal level with no specific clarity that I can provide to the board of where that's going or when it'll be resolved.
Any questions or comments on the federal report? All right, seeing none. Moving on to the Ndot report. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to be here to present a report. As we do every month, I'll begin with safety. Unfortunately, we're on track to have the deadliest year on our roads in a decade. As of last week, Nevada traffic fatalities this year have surpassed total year and fatality totals for calendar years 2010, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Here in Washoe County, there were over 35 traffic fatalities so far this year as of September 30th, an increase of 3% year over year. That includes an increase in bicyclist fatalities. However, we have seen slight decreases in both pedestrian and motorist fatalities from the same time last year. Impairment and speed were once again big factors in fatal crashes statewide. This month, our partners at Zero Fatalities have rolled out their final campaign of 2021, a rideshare campaign focused on impaired driving. As we near the holiday season, this is more important than ever. In this campaign, Zero Fatality juxtaposes the typical enjoyable rideshare experience, such as Uber or Lyft, that is available to impaired drivers, with that of a different type of rideshare, one where impaired drivers are in the backseat of a police car after being arrested for DUI. Through a robust bilingual outreach plan, creative engagement on social media, statewide news, and other tools, the campaign hopes to encourage drivers to always drive sober, plan ahead, and use a designated driver or rideshare when drinking. We're proud to work with Zero Fatalities and the Department of Public Safety on the shared goal of saving lives. Together, we can move closer to achieving our goal of zero fatalities by 2050 in Nevada. And last, we had our first winter weather in our region earlier this week. We'd like to remind travelers to be extra cautious when on the road in the winter months. There are between 3,000 and 5,000 crashes every winter on Nevada roads, many of them due to unsafe driving. We want to remind everyone our motto, ice and snow, take it slow. We encourage motorists to travel in winter weather only when necessary and leave enough time to safely reach your destination. Also call 511, log on to nvroads.com, or download the app before driving for road conditions. Wear your seatbelt, focus on the road, turn headlights on and cruise control off. Avoid quick starts, stops, and turns, and overall reduce your speed. Speed limits are based on normal driving conditions and not winter weather conditions. Keep additional distance from other vehicles. Our priority is keeping drivers safe and connected, so for many more winter driving tips, visit nevadadot.com. Like we've been doing, I'd like to provide an update on the Advisory Working Group for Sustainable Funding. In our meeting this last month, the advisory group discussed in depth what other states are doing to fund their transportation systems and reviewed our revenue resources. After going over the state of transportation electrification in the U.S., we held a discussion identifying transportation revenue principles to guide our evaluation and selection of sustainable funding mechanisms that would best suit Nevada. Our guiding principles discussed included concepts laid out in the Assembly Bill 413 that formed the group, including mobility for all, equity, and greenhouse gas emissions. We also discussed guidelines including revenue diversification, efficiency and ease of compliance, long-term viability, transparency, and flexibility. The group meets again on November 9th and will review how Nevada's current transportation taxes and fees perform against the draft guiding principles. We'll also review 2 transportation funding models as directed by the legislature, which are Utah's new road usage charge and a concept proposed by the Natural Resource Defense Council that would apply different per mile rates based on vehicles' miles per gallon. We're optimistic this study will help set in motion one or more mechanisms that can provide long-term funding sustainability for transportation in Nevada and potentially serve as a model for other states working through similar challenges. As Mr. Thomas mentioned, and we'd like to keep everyone up to date on federal funding, we've discussed it in this meeting. While the recent Federal Transportation FAST Act funding extension of last week provides short-term funding for 30 days, we all know it does not fully provide the long-term funding sustainability to plan critical long-term transportation improvements that support Nevada jobs, environment, economy, and most critically, Nevada families. That's why we continue to closely watch the proposed federal Build Back Better infrastructure bill. The current anticipation is a final vote on the bill by the end of this month. While the final bill has not passed Congress, the bill has potential to provide a substantial infusion of federal funding and, more critically, provide additional funding certainty to plan transportation improvements that will further meet needs. We know the goals of this bill align with state goals, from preserving infrastructure to environment sustainability. Some key points of this proposed funding include support for electrical vehicle charging networks and bridge preservation. What we don't know is that federal funding might ultimately pass through Congress. If passed, the Build Back Better legislation will provide an infusion but not a cure-all for long-term funding challenges. One of our priorities will continue to be long-term funding reauthorization to provide additional funding certainty. The sustainable funding study we discussed in the last slide will also provide insight and concepts for further long-term funding viability and sufficiency. We will continue to keep the board apprised as much as we know. Next, update on SBX. First phase of the Spaghetti Bowl renovations continues, as you've all experienced driving through the bowl. Bridge girders continue to be placed over Kitsky Lane and retaining walls between 2nd Street and the Truckee River. The large crane that you see is called a super heavy lift configuration. It's placing some of the girders through next week. We're paving certain sections of the future new southbound lanes. Those lanes won't be open to traffic until next year, but the current paving allows us to keep ramps open to traffic while paving some of the future southbound exit points. The eastbound I-80 to southbound 580 ramp remains reduced to one lane, as we've been reporting the past few months. Closure of the Wells on-ramp to I-80 also remains in effect through November. Drivers wishing to access the interstate can detour via Wells Avenue to Audi or south to 2nd Street. Travel delays should be expected in the area. Drivers are encouraged to consider alternate routes and allow for extra time. Slow down and be attentive for new merge and lane patterns. My last slide is an update on our winter maintenance. Ndot's preparing to keep the roads clear when the snow flies again, and we're hiring temporary maintenance workers as best we can to help with snow plow and anti-icing operations, with emergency response and with other duties. We're taking applications through the end of today, actually the end of the day today, for positions all over the state, including here in Washoe County. Ndot begins annual winter preparations in early fall by readying snow plows, other pieces of snow and ice equipment for use in snow removal across Nevada. We're not just on the search for good team members for the season, we're always looking for people to join our full-time maintenance team. Ndot maintenance professionals perform nearly 100 different types of tasks, from snow, ice, and debris removal to roadway patching, sweeping, slope enhancements, and more to help keep travelers on Nevada's roadways safe and connected. And that concludes my report. I'll take any questions if you like.
Thank you very much. Does any members have any questions? Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a question on your report, Mr. Tedford. I have a question about policy and procedure. Some major changes were made on the Pyramid Highway with respect to directional access from Dolores to Dakota. The people who live on the west side of the highway can no longer turn north on Pyramid Highway to access the shopping and other things that are that direction. They're forced now to weave through the neighborhoods, or they're forced to go down to where Dolores is and make a U-turn while people are traveling 65 to 70 miles an hour because NDOT allowed 55 miles an hour through that area. It was 45, and NDOT raised the speed limit. What I'd like to know, and my staff at Washoe County was not apprised of these changes. We had no knowledge of it whatsoever. I'd like to understand how that can occur. How could a change right down the middle of Pyramid Highway, and by the way, they did some hot seals that are, in my opinion, substandard. If they did that same on my driveway, I'd have them back out there, let alone the Pyramid Highway. So I'll certainly share my contact information with you or with, I know Mike Feast, the district engineer, knows how to get in touch with me. I'd love to hear how this was determined. And I mean, I've probably gotten at least a dozen contacts from those residents about those changes.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have your contact information. We'll get back to you with the details on that.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Do any other commissioners have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we will move into, that was the Ndot Report, move into commissioner announcements and updates. Do any commissioners have any announcements or updates? No? Commissioner Lucy.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I appreciate it. First of all, I want to thank the Teamsters and the general public that have come out and spoken public comment today. I want to assure you that we have heard your concerns. Many of you have emailed all of us with your frustrations and challenges. And this is not just about the Teamsters. This is about the entire community that has been challenged with these negotiations and affected by these negotiations. It'd be my opinion, based upon the directions that have gone on or the negotiations that have gone on thus far between Keolis and the Teamsters, that we have RTC representation involved in that. I know there has been different discussions about challenges about having that occur, but I would kindly ask both the leadership of Keolis and the Teamsters to allow for our chair, Councilwoman Jordan, to participate in those negotiations and help moderate a discussion, not make a decision, but moderate a discussion between and try to find some quick resolution that is viable for all those individuals involved. And as I said, this does not just impact the drivers, and I think the drivers have been a very good and solid group of individuals and trustworthy and honest through this entire process. And I apologize that you've had to go through this experience, but we need to come to some sort of resolution that is grossly beneficial for everyone. And when you look at the wages that are discussed about how the drivers are paid, you're absolutely right. One of the public comments that was made, there are many signs out there for warehouse jobs that are moving boxes that are offering $15 or $18 when I have drivers that are operating commercial vehicles with passengers on it with a higher liability. That frustrates me. So I would like to have my chair sit on those negotiations and participate in those discussions so that RTC really does have a seat at the table. A non-political, I mean a non-voting, but just someone to help mitigate. And Councilwoman Jordan has been on this board for 10 years almost, and strongly knows and understands transportation and the need for transportation within our community and in the impact that it has. And so that would be my ask, Madam Chair. Hopefully Mr. Watson and Keolis can agree to those kinds of discussions. When you look at $13 an hour, $13.50 an hour for a tenured bus driver, $26,000 a year is not very much money for an individual when you actually do it in my simple math at $13 an hour for 40 hours a week, 54 weeks a year. That's not a whole lot of money. And that's well below what it would take for most people. And this has been a discussion not just through the pandemic, but prior to. I know Commissioner Jung from my board has brought this up a number of times back when we had MV operating the buses. So I think this is something that I'd like to discuss. I think there's something that we can resolve this through, whether it's funding, additional funding through ARPA monies or whatever that may take. But I'd like to see this fixed because transportation is and has always been what I consider the gateway to all business in this community. And when we are 60% of our business is run by service industry, I think it's necessary to get those individuals to and from work. It's challenging today with the amount of workforce we have available due to a pandemic. And I don't want to see this happen any further. I think it's time that, and if the chairwoman can't or has scheduled and it can't do it, I will step in. But I would really like her to participate. So those are my comments, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you. And to dovetail onto Commissioner Lucy's point, what I'd like to see prior to that from legal is I'd like to see how we're prohibited from participating. I'd like an agenda item so that we can better understand exactly what that prohibition looks like. I happen to agree with Commissioner Lucy.
Well, Commissioner Hartung, we're stepping off into a discussion. I think that we're
No, I
probably-
understand. That's why I'm saying I'd
Yeah.
like to have this come back. I agree with Commissioner Lucy. I'm telling you what I'm not trying to have a discussion. I would like to have legal bring back an item that explains the laws that prohibit us from being involved and the extent of that prohibition. I just want to understand it.
Thank you very much. Director Thomas, did you?
I know that all the board, I've talked to all of you and I've watched it, not only heard from the drivers and the mechanics and all the people who work at through our ride service and the consequence to them. And I just wanted to qualify and I think to characterize what the commissioners are saying is there's a very sincere interest in understanding what it would take to end the strike, but that we are in no position to offer money, to offer anything that has to do with the operations between the employees and their employer. Our role is very clear, and we will take what you've said in the context in which we can work, and I do think having that presentation that tells everybody, because you all know it, we know it, what this world is that exists in terms of our limitations. But and then also, just to qualify, the intent of the statement is more of a moderator. So this is not negotiations. If the two parties invited in a representative, Chair Jordan, then we could see how that would work, but we're not in a position, we're allowed to negotiate. So, and I'm just clarifying, I know that wasn't your intent.
No, absolutely not.
but-
My request would be for the chair to serve as a moderator if invited to participate. That would be my request. And then I believe the other thing to Commissioner Hartung's point, Madam Chair, at the last RTC meeting, Vice Chair Lawson did ask for us to have the contract and details of the contract being brought back in front of us. So I would like to see that. I think that would help us understand the number, not only the contract, but I want to know the detail of how many drivers are currently employed via Keolis under their operations, and those wage settlements as well for those drivers based upon tenure and where they're at. So I would like those details brought back at the earliest meetings so we can have that discussion as well.
Thank you very much. And I will just say this, we are not taking any action today. That will be coming back for consideration. I will say this as an individual. Neoma Jordan, Chair of the RTC. My calendar is clear on Monday. I'm hopeful I will get an invite. I would love to moderate, not negotiate. And I suppose all parties would have to agree to me participating in this Zoom discussions as a moderator. I hope I get an invitation, and I suppose if I do and I show up and somebody says we're not good with you being here, I will log off. But assuming that doesn't happen, I think we need to do that. So I am available. I have cleared my calendar for Monday, and hopefully all parties will agree to send me a Zoom invite to moderate and observe the discussions on Monday. Separately from that, I would like to put on a future agenda item as well. Discussions of having roundtable discussions on a regular basis with the drivers, not to intercede or interject with the employer and the drivers, but rather to get frontline essential worker feedback from their experiences. There has been some good information that over the last few weeks that I have received that you just can't know unless you're out there driving the bus every day. And that's just invaluable knowledge that I think we would be better served as an organization to have. And so I would like to see how we could facilitate roundtable sort of casual sort of discussions with interested drivers on a regular basis. So thank you. Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the other thing that I'd like to see, Mr. Spear, if possible, and Mr. Thomas, can we see the offers that have been proffered by both sides? Is that possible? You can't see that?
Madam Chair, if I could address that. That information is confidential between the parties.
I see.
We are not a party to the negotiations. We're not a party to the collective bargaining. Without getting into the detail, which we have gotten into in terms of our analysis of what we can and can't do.
Okay.
I understand where the desire is for RTC to play a role
Yes.
in helping to resolve this, but we are legally prohibited from being involved, and I can discuss in detail what those prohibitions are, and we can explore potential actions that RTC or the commissioners could take, but we are very limited, and so we'll have to have some follow-up discussions, I think, after today's meeting.
Okay, all right. I guess I have to read it in the paper.
But may I ask a follow-up question? But if the parties, the direct parties involved, agree to an observer, a moderator, and that observer or moderator is a member of this body, i.e. me, is that not something we can do? It's very difficult, as I will share with you, and I think it's widely believed by this board. it's very difficult to sit in a position of feeling powerless, I mean, to a large degree, at least powerless in the sense of having information. And parties will meet, and then they'll come out and we'll get bits and pieces, maybe through some lens or filter, but there's nobody on this body or organization that is there even in an observatory fashion, and that I think is a disservice. So I understand the legalities of it. I want to see if there's a way in which the parties involved, direct parties involved, not in a matter of interfering, but where they would allow for observation by a member of this body.
Understood, and we can have that conversation as soon as you're ready to have it.
Madam Chair, I would ask if need be, an emergency meeting, if an emergency meeting needs to be called to give you that power, once your discussion with legal has occurred, I would ask that we could even convene an emergency meeting to discuss that.
Thank you very much. Okay.
All right.
Any other members have any additional comments or input? Okay. At this time, we will move into closing public comment. We're going to start with Debbie Calkins, followed by Chip Evans.
Deb Calkins again for the union. As the principal officer, I would wholeheartedly welcome any of the commissioners who would want to be part. I will make sure Chair Jordan gets an invite from our side. We absolutely would like participation. We understand that it would be as a moderator. But if you also want to look on the at the proposals, we do have them posted on our website, teamsters533.org.
Thank you.
And I just want to express we would welcome the interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chip Evans, followed by Candice Sebelius.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the tone of your last discussion. You know, in business school, I was taught that any strike is, in the end, a management failure. There's damage done to everyone involved. RTC's management of our public transit system is a failure. It is failing our riders, the business community, our university, our environment, and our transit employees. Our growing communities desperately need good public transit, a system that is safe, reliable, affordable, makes it easy to get places, environmentally friendly, and provides a good experience. Keolis, along with RTC management, is failing to provide them. Regarding safety, with a deadly virus attacking our community, federal, state, and RTC policy requires masks be worn on public transit. Keolis has instructed drivers not to enforce the policy and expose them to danger. Keolis has failed to retain and attract sufficient drivers to operate the system. Commissioner Lucy, the gap between what's contractually obligated by them and staff that we have on now is over 30%. As a result, the system has become unreliable for riders. Even worse, RTC management has failed to hold Keolis accountable by foregoing penalties for failing to meet their contractual staffing obligations. Unbelievably, in the midst of our community's growth in population and new businesses, Keolis and RTC management have launched a campaign to reduce bus routes. Another Keolis and RTC management failure is to simply be a good employer. You know, current and prospective employees value fair pay and benefits, being treated fairly and respectfully, a good and safe work environment, and reasonable scheduling flexibility to address personal and family needs. The drivers I have spoken to say they were reasonably content until Keolis arrived. Since then, the number of official workplace grievances has grown astronomically. 30-year employees report this is the worst work environment they have experienced. The employee's contract has been allowed to lapse for months now. Talks to negotiate the new contract have been slow-walked. And the first two proposed changes by Keolis were to replace their existing healthcare plan and institute a new scheduling system that destroys the previous flexibility they had, all in exchange for a 3% wage increase that neither keeps them whole given current inflation nor helps close the gap between what drivers are getting with other employees. The consequence of these multiple management failures is that drivers rightly judge that RTC is not a good place to work, and our community judges that they're better off avoiding unreliable public transit if they can. I share a growing suspicion that is permeating the community that Keolis has a very different agenda than making Reno's transit system work better. This may be about Keolis working to bust another union so they can add Reno to their sales pitch to larger districts.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Candy Sebelius, followed by Carlos Elizondo.
Good morning. My name is Candy Sebelius. You were very close. First of all, I'd like to talk to Mr. Tedford. Who designed these roundabouts to begin with? That could be a lot of the pedestrian problem we're having. Putting bicycles with buses in the same lane, a little ridiculous. Signage for tourists coming into town. You see the sign, oh, that was your off-ramp, now you're screwed. For the rest of you, I have been a bus driver for 37 years, 10 years here working for RTC. I came here when MV first came, and I was the last person on their first tier thing, whatever that was, which divided the drivers then. Since then, I am not proud to put on my uniform. I am not proud to say I'm a resident of Reno or Washoe County. Please, you've got to get rid of Keolis. They are destroying everything. How can you people say our city is growing when you guys are shrinking the transportation for these people to get to and from work? I'm a family member. I'm a community member. I like my community and my people, and I miss them very much, and I would like to get back to work soon before I do have to go find another job that I then have to figure out how to transport myself there and back. Thank you.
Carlos Elizondo.
My name is Carlos Elizondo. And as you speak always about safety and being a priority, I have noticed that since they made legal the weed, the marijuana, everything has increased, overall crimes, accidents. And one thing that I haven't heard, is rollovers. Ever since they made it legal, I've heard a lot of rollovers, and always the news says, drug and alcohol was not a factor. The same phrase every single time. Drug and alcohol was not a factor. Yeah, ever since they made that deal, overall everything has increased. So that's what I was going to say. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That is the end. I don't see any further public comment. At this time, we will close public comment and we'll move into adjournment. May I get a motion?
Motion to move.
We have a motion, a second. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.